Hi, my name is Frankie. Thank you for listening to my mom. I never listen.
Welcome to the podcast, Bart Brooks, one of my dear friends in the Missouri Valley, at the head coach at Belmont. I haven't made a trip to Nashville in a while, Bart. I'd really like to get over there and check out some practice one day.
Well, forget practice. There's a couple of places to go hear some music and a couple of cold beverages would be a little bit more fun than practice. But yeah, you're always welcome. Great to be on, Deb.
I love a cold beverage. Tell me where you go in Nashville. Where do you guys hang out?
You know, I spend all of my time at home because I've got two little boys and they keep me busy. But there's a couple of barbecue places right next to campus, Edley's and Martin's. You can't go wrong with either one.
Well, I was looking for, like some nightlife, little live music. I don't know, you got to have a date night once in a while, right?
Well, we have there's a couple of places downtown, and my wife and I, Justin Timberlake's got a club called the 1230 Club, and I've never seen him there, but they've got some great music and some pretty good food too.
Oh, cool. That sounds like fun. That'd be good. Well, how's it going, man? I mean, you guys just keep rolling, right? Sitting on top of the league in the Missouri Valley. It's a competitive league. You got a lot of another year with a lot of great teams.
Yeah, I mean it's we're obviously in a good place where we want to be at the halfway point, but we're looking at a gauntlet coming up at the next couple of weeks and on the road, really challenging road environments. We played six of our first 10 at home. So now we got to play six of our last 10 on the road. So I think we're in a place where we'd want to be. If you told me we'd be in this 9-1 going into the second half of the league, I'd take it. But man, we've got a lot of work to do and a lot of getting better to do still.
Bart, this is your second year in the Valley, and you went through the Valley last year, first time. You've been to a lot of those arenas, a lot of places, maybe new for your team, maybe not new for you. But what did you learn about the first year that you've been able to carry forward to help you this year in your planning the second time around in the league?
Yeah, I think just the quality of coaches, the styles of play are so different in this league. You don't see the same offense every night. You don't see the same defense every night. And that is really cool for me as a coach because it helped me, going through it last year. You don't prepare for Drake in a day. You gotta start with them in the preseason and have a plan. You don't play against a team like Illinois State with all the stuff that they do offensively and have go into the game and just figure it out on a fly. You've got to have a really good plan and probably a plan B and a plan C for all these guys. So I think just having an awareness of that and understanding how good these coaches are, we've got to be really prepared as a staff, and we can't waste days in practice. And I think that's helped us this second time around. At least have a better plan. Now, executing the plan is another thing. We've got to be able to do that. But I think we've had a lot better preparation going into the first round of the games. And now, the real fun of playing in a great league is what do we do in game two and how do we adjust and how do they adjust and how can we help our players be in a good position to have success?
Help me simplify some of this for the fans that are listening, because a lot of people don't understand all the behind the scenes work that goes into preparing for a season. So you referenced the summer, and I always see basketball sort of like this, fundamentals. Everybody has to pass, shoot, and dribble, and you got to be good at those things. And then there's the different concepts that you play in. Those concepts are, philosophical or pace, or there's a lot of different ways how we're going to score, what we like to do offensively. When you're planning in the summer, conditioning is a part of it, fundamentals is a part of it. How much are you thinking about Drake runs this, Illinois State runs this, I've got to be prepared? And I'm thinking about that in June and July when I'm stacking up my practice plans and I'm getting ready to get closer to the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always in the front of our minds, knowing that the quality of teams in our league and the quality of the coaching, as I referenced, we've always got when we put in our base packages, how we're going to defend certain screens. We've always got in our mind, is this going to be effective against the best teams in our league? is if we guard a flare screen this way, is this going to be able to stop, Coach Gillespie from getting her shooter a three, and all of the stuff that goes into that. So we try to put our system together that our base is going to be effective against the best teams in our league. And then if we've got to make adjustments and tweaks, we can do that game to game specifics. But yeah, so much of what we do is trying to put our players in position that what we do the most is going to be the most effective against the best people in our league. And I think that's really our the secret of our success probably over the last handful of years is we've tried to, what we do all the time is most effective against the best teams. And then if we've got to make specific adjustments, we'll do that.
You have referenced Coach Gillespie a couple of times, the head coach at Illinois State, and I know you and Kristen have a common thread through DePaul and Coach Bruno. I know how she feels about Doug and her relationship with him, and I know how you feel about him as well. You guys are all really connected under his tree. What would you talk about if you're going to try to explain to somebody what you've learned from Doug and why he's been such a good role model and mentor for you?
And his teams, his players were always so confident. And I just look back to, some of the games that we won when I was an assistant with Coach Bruno. And, if you'd have said, hey, you could coach one of these teams tonight, I would never have picked the DePaul team in a lot of those games. Just looking at the players, and not to disparage our players, but they were just so confident in who they were and what they could do. And Coach Bruno just had this ability to give them the freedom to be the best of who they were. And I think so many times when we played, our players were maybe a level better than they could have been under someone else because of their confidence and because of the style and the system and the competitiveness that coach has and the standard that you do it every day. And, you don't have a day off. Shoot arounds were hard. Everything we did was with pace and with effort. And I think just this sustaining that over time has been, I've been a head coach this is year 7 for me. And I just think, how can someone do this well for 30 plus years? I can't wrap my head around that. It's really hard to do it well one year, let alone consistently over time.
Yeah, we all have a great fondness for Doug and what he's done for our game and what he's meant to all of our careers. So he's had an impact on mine as well. Let's go a little bit about your team. Let's talk about your team, what you want people to see when they see your team play. I know there's a lot of mutual respect across the league for what you do. How would you describe your style of play and what your players are doing right now?
Yeah, well, this is a little bit of a unique year for me in that I don't know how this happened. It was not intentional, but we're hanging our hat on the defensive end of the floor.
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
And
Bart, you're breaking my heart.
And if you to look at our practice plans, we have about 15% spent on defense and the other 85% spent on trying to get better offensively, because it's driving me nuts that we're scoring 60 points a game, but we're also winning. So,
right, that's right.
There's some give and take there, but I can't really explain it other than I think we've got some really competitive players, and they're athletically, I think we're probably the quickest, deepest athletic team that I've ever had here. And we're able to do some different things with guard matchups. We're big and physical inside, and we've got some depth inside. And so I think that lends itself to being a good defensive team. But I think really where the growth of our season is where it's still in front of us is we have not clicked offensively. And part of that is we're trying to figure out our point guard position. We've got a freshman in Jalen Banks who's really, really talented, and she's kind of been thrown into that role as a true freshman, and she's learning on the fly, and she's so talented with the ball in her hands. But learning how to play with other players on the floor who are also talented has been some ups and downs for us as we go through the season. And then, Emily LaChapelle, a transfer from Marquette, became eligible after the NCAA ruling, in late December. And so she's only played in our conference games. So she's 10 games into trying to figure out, she's really talented. She's in the rotation, and I don't feel like I've done a great job of putting her in position to do all the things that she does really well. And so that's still a work in progress. So we've got, man, I love our team. I love their competitiveness and their toughness. We've been hard to score against lately, but I think we're going to get really good when we figure out how to put the ball in the basket a little more consistently on offense.
It's funny you say that, because I would never worry about your teams ever being able to score. You run such good stuff, and your kids always have adapted to in-game adjustments, which leads me to this question for you, Bart, because I sometimes look at coaching in these three categories. Like, there's recruiting, right? You have to have talent. Then there's practice and developing players and preparation inside practice. And then there's the ability to game adjust in game, making adjustments, making changes. And when you have so much resource at your hands from an analytic standpoint, but you also have a great feel for the game because you've been in it for so long, how do you balance the in-game adjustments based on some numbers that may have swayed your decision, or something that you just think this combination isn't going to work?
Yeah, that's a challenge. And there's games where we come into the locker room at halftime, and the plus minus number is always one that sometimes blows my mind with players, that I feel like a certain player might be disrupting our rhythm offensively, and then you look at the plus minus and she's +9 and everyone else is even. And some of those numbers sometimes don't make sense to what you see. But so much of it, to me, you referenced it, that when you're in the middle of it, there's a feel and a kind of an instinct, and I always go by that rather than the numbers. And the numbers can get overwhelming. I mean, the numbers, you can find a number somewhere that means you can make numbers work for you if you look hard enough. And I've lost multiple days of my life going down rabbit holes of lineups and 2-person groupings, and this 3 people play better with these 2 people. And I've literally lost days of my life, and that I can never get back, because there's so much out there. So I think for us, just trying to focus on the 3 or 4 things that are really important to our team's success. And for me, it's always the transitions of how are we transitioning defensively? How are we transitioning offensively? Are we getting easy baskets? Are we giving up easy baskets? The rebound transitions. Are we getting easy baskets on the glass? Are we giving up easy baskets? And trying to keep our team focused on the things that happen every possession, more than the 2 or 3 possessions a game kind of things.
So I know that rabbit hole. I've been in it multiple times myself when I go into Synergy to find something, and then next thing it leads me to something else. Yeah. And then I'm like, what did I go in there for in the first place? So I want to ask you, because we do have all this resource. We can look at the game through an analytic lens where we can break it down. But also there's value in watching the game, because you can watch the out of bounds plays, but you may not know what happened right before the coach might have called timeout for a particular reason, or somebody might have been hot that you didn't know, and you had a feeling they were going to go to that person. How much value do you still place in, and do you have time to watch the whole game versus breaking down the clips?
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit different in that respect, because I only watch whole games when I'm studying the teams we play against. I've got a great group of assistant coaches, and they all are in charge of scouting our opponents, and they do all of the clip stuff, and they've got everything organized by everything that anyone could ever possibly run. They know it, and they know it inside and out. And for me, I'm really trying to figure out a lot more of the flow stuff of, when does the coach we're playing against, if they need a basket, where are they going? Who are they going to? And you only know that by watching the flow of the game, and you see the rhythms of the game. And are they trying to slow the game down? Are they trying to play with pace? Are they playing with pace at the expense of a possession? Or is the possession more important than the pace? And sometimes that's really hard to tell when you're watching, clip A of a player shooting a jump shot, and you don't get to see the rhythms and the transitions that I think are so important in basketball. There's a transition every time the ball's shot. There's a transition. So I think that's a huge part of what I do when I study.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel the same way. I don't have a staff to break everything down. So sometimes you just got to fast forward through the old VHS way of
Yeah,
watching a game, right?
no doubt.
Bart, you're on my list, man. Practice, film, barbecue, and a cold beverage next time.
You're always welcome. I'd love to host you. Thanks, Deb.